might have a problem. So that's an issue. Or you want to interview one of them. Where are you going to go do that?
Okay, we're outside now of the police department, and we're here with Chief Neccie Logan, and this is the evidence room, or one of three places that Ocean Shores Police store all the evidence that they collect. Or why don't you tell us, Chief Logan, a little bit about what this building is and some of the issues that you can see here just taking a look at the building itself.
This building houses our smaller evidence items and property items. And the issues that we've been having with it is the fact that we've got missing shingles on the top of it. We're missing half of the cap off of the top of the building as far as the roof goes. And we've got rotting going on down below here all the way around. And I don't know if you can see on the other side, we've got a lot of rotting down on the below side of it. So everything that's being hit by the weather on this side is definitely taking an effect on especially this side of the building.
Okay, so
and put them into the booking area, which means you have to go up the stairs there, which should actually be a ramp. It's definitely not ADA compliant with having the stairs there, but we definitely need something that goes into the building that is not steps.
Closer.
I was getting closer, and I actually, when I gave my last my budget request report, I was inaccurate in the numbers that I gave.
And that obviously requires an officer to take them and be gone for a couple of hours.
Exactly. We usually, because we only staff 2 people usually on duty at a time. What we have here is our booking room. You can see it's pretty small. And, we have our fingerprint machine, which we were fortunate enough to get on a grant. We did not have to pay for the machine. It's an electronic fingerprint machine. So a very, very expensive piece of equipment. And you can tell by as small as this area is, again, it's another officer safety thing. It's then out here is where we process our DUIs. We would bring the chair from the booking area and set it here in the doorway, and we would process our DUIs. And again, it puts us into that officer safety situation where we're in close proximity, especially with somebody that we know is intoxicated. And we know mood swings go up and down quite often in those situations. So, it's not a very safe situation being in this close proximity to somebody. And again, another very expensive piece of equipment that is actually maintained by the state. Okay. In the corner here, our code enforcement animal control officer's desk. The desk you're looking at right now is actually our break room desk, where they go to eat their meals, but it is also quite often used to process our evidence. So you can imagine how that goes. We have to decontaminate it every time before we eat, basically, and before we do evidence on it. And the fact that they're doing it on the same table is not the best idea, but that's the way it goes because we just don't have the room. And the code enforcement officers, as you heard Code Enforcement Officer BB speaking about their area and the fact that it gets difficult sometimes when you've got 3 people in here all on the phone trying to have conversations with victims of something or somebody that's reporting some kind of incident to them. It makes it very difficult for them to listen to who and pay attention to who they're actually talking to while they're working there. So, they could definitely benefit from having their own office, and they often reference benefits that. Okay, this is what we have for a break room here. We have our microwave and we have our Keurig coffee machine. This is where, when all the nice people, nice citizens bring us food, especially around the holidays, this is where it ends up getting piled and stacked because this is the only area we really have to put that kind of thing. for the officers to be able to get to. So yeah, we're very proud of how big our break room is. Other than, just comforts of maybe a new carpet, which isn't that big of a deal. Going through COVID initially, we had no room to store our supplies for the COVID things that we had ordered, our masks, our gowns, our things like that. And so this room was actually packed at that time for about almost 2 years. I couldn't even have people sit in my chairs because everything was being stored in here because we have no real room for storing supplies in the building.
So this is the main hallway, and as you can see, with a person of my size, it gets to be pretty small in here. So this is the main entrance that you have access to the building from. Is that correct?
Yes, and all the hallways are the same size. We can walk through them one at a time, and if two people need to cross paths, somebody has to jump out of the way into an office doorway to get by. And that again, goes back to the officer safety thing of walking our bad guys that are not very compliant and them getting into a scuffle with us in these tight quarters again. On top of the fact that, once again, we're not ADA compliant. We could not bring a wheelchair through here and get them turned back around again without going into an office somewhere and doing it and coming back through. So as you look down the hallway here, other than the fact that we're just as tight quarters, you see the pictures of the officers that I have on staff. There's a few of them missing that we haven't done pictures yet. I'd still like to get everybody in their nice uniforms looking all pretty. All right, this is our electrical room slash server room slash what is this? What is that? Our furnace, I guess, is what you would call it, and also holds our hot water heater. Last summer, our hot water heater went out on us and flooded the room. You can imagine that wasn't a good situation being in our electrical room. When they came in to fix that for us, they found that it had been going out and leaking for quite some time and was rotting out the floor underneath of it. And so they said, need to replace that floor. And they also would not touch when it came time to actually connect the new water heater, they wouldn't touch the electrical part of it because it was not up to code. When we called somebody to come and fix our floor for us, they looked at it and told us that with the age of the building and the looks of the tile, that they would require that it be tested for asbestos before they do anything in here. And so we put the plywood down to cover it for now, just so we can walk around on it at this point. But you can imagine that this was not a good situation whatsoever. However, with the furnace being in here, when it gets overheated with the hot days or and when it gets really too hot outside, it gets too hot in here, and this room is not ventilated whatsoever. And with our server in here, and our server being the brains of our entire department, that's not a good situation to have the server in. This is our front lobby, where when you come in the front door, this is what you see. This is what everybody sees for the most part. Most people don't see what's behind our secure door. But this is not just our lobby. This is actually our interview room. Because we have no room for an interview room inside the building, this is where we have to conduct our interviews. And you can imagine the way people feel when they're trying to explain how they've been a victim of a crime or a witness to one that they want to remain anonymous, and here they are being exposed to people going in and out if it's during business hours. Even if we lock the door, we've still got people coming up that can see in the windows. That is going to make somebody really uncomfortable as they're trying to to talk about something that's of sensitive nature, even if we put blinds on the doors and on the windows, it can't cover it 100%. And so, you've got people that are going to be rattling the door, wanting in and peeking through. And I can imagine that if I was sitting in that seat and trying to, talk to an officer about, anything of any nature, whether it's sensitive or not, that would be very distracting and make me very uncomfortable. The big things that we're missing is we do not have an interview room whatsoever, other than our front lobby, which there's no privacy to it whatsoever. And the fact that, according to the new laws that passed last year that went into effect at the beginning of this year, that requires that our interviews of felony suspects and all juveniles that we interview have to be audio and video recorded, and to have a space that equipment can be set up in, we don't have it. So we are not able to comply with that law at this point. But that's a good, half hour to 45 minutes that our suspect can think about things and get their stories straight in their heads, or decide that they just don't want to talk to us whatsoever. So we're out of compliance with the law as far as that goes, of not having an interview room. This building currently has so many different issues with it that is not ADA compliant, from the size of the hallways to not having ramps, having the stairs to get up into the building out of the sally port. And both of those situations is not just an issue with ADA compliance, it's also officer safety issues. Our booking area being so small that, again, officer safety issues, there's room enough for one officer basically to get in a struggle with one suspect. Well, if the officer is my size and the suspect, towers over me by a foot or more, and we're getting in a struggle in there, and there's only room for the two of us, odds aren't real good that I'm going to come out of it real well. So, as I said, another officer safety issue in the booking room, and have it on a table where they're not processing evidence. So it's a sanitary thing also, and for it to help, how it would benefit the community is the big thing. We're back to the interview room again, and being able to interview somebody in private, to where they don't have to feel like they're being interrupted or somebody's hearing what they're saying when they are basically confessing is what a lot of them are doing, of I was a victim of this, and it's very sensitive in nature, and I don't want this person over here, whether they can hear me or not, I don't want them that close to me while I'm trying to tell you my story, type of thing. So it's a comfort thing for our citizens to be able to come in and feel like they can talk to us in private. And as far as, I think it would bring more officers into us, more applicants into us, if they knew they had a facility not only that they can be proud of, but one that they have room to move around in, and feel comfortable in. Again, back to the officer safety part of it. It's something that they need to feel comfortable in and feel like they can do their job and do it the best that they can, as opposed to somebody that comes in and sees our department the way it is and say, yeah, you guys have made it work and you could probably make it work, but now that I'm hired here, I think I'm going to go to Aberdeen or Hoquiam that has a better building that makes me feel more comfortable.
Lost candidates, do you think, in the past? Or have you heard through the grapevine that some have been turned away just because of our facility?
I have heard through the grapevine that we have had lateral officers that have been interested in our department, in our structure, in the, working with the other officers that are here, but because of the facility, they have chosen not to apply here. Doesn't, and you can imagine being a new candidate, driving through and to look at the new, to look at the police station, say, hey, I want to work there, and it's sitting right next to this huge fire department. And I can imagine the thought process is, this community absolutely loves their fire department. They don't have a whole lot of love for their police department.